Okay, you all good? Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the B2C Lead Generation Podcast. Welcome back to the B2C Lead Gen Podcast. My name is Daniel Hopewell here with Simon and Delaney, and this is episode 47, which means we are dangerously close to achieving our goal of one episode a week, an entire year. I think it might fall just short, but we'll see if we can squeeze a few extras in. But yeah, this is episode 47, Progressive Profiling, a Real Secret Sauce. I was trying to think how to approach this. I think the best thing is to talk about, or to ask you to intro what progressive profiling actually is, because I don't think it's known by everyone. So let's just clarify that. What is progressive profiling?
Yeah, so I think it's something that's generally used more in B2B than B2C, but there's no reason you can't use it. So effectively, you've generated a lead already. You've carried out whatever marketing or sales exercise that you're going to on it, whether it's sending them an email or call them or whatever. And you haven't been successful, or potentially you have, but you want to gain some more information about this user. So progressive profiling is effectively asking users additional information that is going to help you offer either a better product or service, or find out what it is that you have that they potentially could be interested in, that's going to, if you're talking about lead generation, that's going to make them think about converting or think about your products in a different way. So that's effectively what progressive profiling is: asking questions to gain additional information that's going to help you market or sell better to that person.
Yeah, so to clarify, it's used essentially to make your nurturing better and to move them closer to that end point.
Yeah.
So I guess for people listening, the first question is what do you need to find out when you're asking these questions? What are the questions you ask?
So this sort of really depends on what your aim is, right? So most of the time we're talking about lead generation, and we're talking about like purchasing intent lead. So you're calling them or emailing them and looking to convert them. What you really, if you think about it, what you really need to focus on is the pain that someone has that you can solve. And the reason I say pain is because I read a really interesting, in fact, when I say it was really interesting, it was just literally a line of information that said, you don't want to focus on problems, because a lot of times people don't even know they've got a problem. What you want to focus on is pain, because everyone knows they've got a pain. It's just really resonated with me. I was like, God, yeah.
Yeah, that is good.
I might have like a problem I don't even know about. But when you have a pain, you know it, and it nags at you. Is the pain that keeps you awake at night. So if we use a vertical, so we always like choose the same verticals because it's like the first thing that comes to mind. But let's say broadband. I'm aware that I constantly say, oh, let's use mobile phones or broadband. It's just something I think about. So I know you've generated a lead has come in, you've either put it into a call center, you've been trying to convert it, you've emailed them, whatever else, and you've either spoken to them or you haven't. For some reason, they've not become your customer, which, bear in mind, the vast majority of leads won't. So, on average, 15-20% of leads might convert, depending on, the quality of the messaging. So yeah, you're talking about like 80-85% of people. So it's desperately important that, number one, you build a relationship with them, and number two, you find out what their pain is. They became a lead for a reason, right? Like there was something in their mind at that moment when they came in, and you need to figure out what that is so that you can target them effectively. So if we stick on broadband, and just thinking like really simply, what would be a really nice thing to know about broadband that you might not have collected on a form when the lead came in? And it would be, I don't know, how fast is your broadband currently? Because if it's like fast, right, when they became a lead, they're probably thinking of like, can I get better value? And if it's slow, they're probably thinking, I need better broadband speeds. So it instantly gives you this information that you can probably target. Now, this person's potentially been unresponsive, they've not converted. So, why would they give you this information? So what you need to do is find a mechanism to like ask them the question and give them something of value at the same time. So, for example, if you're talking about broadband, it could be access to offers that aren't available elsewhere. So, if we could ask you this and you answer, we'll give you access to our best offers. It could be a promise to beat your current broadband speeds or get your money back. It might be an offer that isn't available somewhere else. It could be I don't know, a free dongle that you could use when you're traveling with like your laptop or whatever it is. That could be another offer. Most people won't willingly give information unless they're like directly engaged with you already. So you need to find a sort of mechanism to ask that person something. But really what you're trying to focus on is the pain that someone has so that you can target them effectively. And you can keep asking profiling questions. So it could be, how fast is your broadband speed? How big is your house? How many people live in your house? How many people use the internet in your house? And from these things, you can start to derive what their problem or what their pain is going to be.
Yeah, that's quite a good point actually, because I don't know, let's say my internet speed is fine and someone asks me what my speed is, I probably won't respond to that. But like you said, if you keep asking questions, the next question might be, I don't know, like how much you spend or something on your current one, you want to get for cheap, wherever it is, and that might be like the thing that I'm trying to improve. So it's like, I guess you keep asking to hit that thing that resonates and finds that pain point, and then can segment them in.
I think what you do is you build up a bank of different questions. So the problem is you're going to run out of offers, right? Or like mechanisms that you can use to profile people. But what you'll have is, I don't know, let's say you did this via email. So you send it to 100 people. 10 people answered the question of, I don't know what their broadband speed was. So you could then segregate that into two pots of they're looking for better value or they're looking for better broadband speeds. You then start trying to target them on that. If that isn't working, you could ask an additional question, or the ones that didn't, you could ask them a different question originally. I don't know, how big is your house or whatever. So it really needs to become part of your lead nurturing program. And obviously, the key thing is being able to collect that information and then use it effectively, because obviously there's no point in doing it otherwise.
I guess this is the term progressive in the sense of this what it means. So say you've got that, just to use a broadband scenario, you know what their speed is, you know how many people are in their house, wherever it is, you know kind of almost what they're paying or what they want to be paying, and then you might be something like they might show interest in like a Wi-Fi booster because the house, wherever it is. So then if you, I guess one of the next questions is how you would use information. You could deliver them something that says, right, we can give you broadband at this speed, which beats your current one for this price, which is cheaper, whatever it is, and we'll give you a free boost if you know you like that. Like you use that information, I guess, to build up stages to it and kind of layer the offer. Is that essentially what I'm asking? Is what you would do when you have that info?
Yeah, exactly. So what you're looking to do is sort of, in the first instance, is like really super target your marketing or your sales exercise, right? So you can just focus on the pain that person's feeling at that moment. And the second thing is getting the I don't know, future offers. But you can also use it to segment people by type, because obviously if they're looking for better value, it's pretty obvious that you might have other products. So exactly like you said, a booster or I don't know, something else. And if value is what they're after and they see that as more important than the speed of their broadband, it opens up like a bunch of different potential offers to that person. And the other thing is, I mean, one thing we didn't touch on is a profiling question is, how do you want to be contacted, right? Because if you're collecting broadband speeds and banging it all into a call center and nobody's responding, or 85% of people aren't converting, and you haven't spoken to 50% of them, maybe it's the wrong channel. You could ask them, how do you want us to contact you? Do you want it via post? Do you want an SMS? Do you want an email? Do you want something else? So this can be used to really gather a lot of information and really give the consumer the sort of service that they want in the method they want. But you need to do lead nurturing. You need to use all the information. It becomes a long-term program.
And this is just personalization, right? Like we talk about personalization a lot, And
Exactly.
people make the mistake of thinking it just simply means hi, Dave, whatever it is, who's submitted the lead, and that's like kind of the very cursory, superficial level of personalization. But this is what I mean, right? This is in-depth personalization, I guess, is a way of describing it.
Exactly. That's really what it becomes, or what it comes down to is personalizing is really targeting your marketing to the pain that people feel, or the benefits that you can give to that pain. Is like the remedy. And that helps them and it helps you, right? Because then they can make like quick decisions based on the pain they're feeling, and it helps you because you're going to get a new customer. There's just so few people do this. When you actually think about it, it's like relatively simple, right? It's just, what do we want to know? What pain do we want to know this person's feeling, and how can we solve it? And it just becomes this exercise of doing that. And so I think it's because everyone's looks at lead gen, and we've covered this on multiple podcasts before, is like one hit wonder. And so at best, lead nurturing is like, I don't know, the same generic like crappy email that just talks about the company or whatever every week or every month, when in reality there's a huge trick that's being missed. And we're talking about the vast majority of the data that you've collected, right? This isn't like a tiny minority of like 1% of the data. This is 85% of the people that never converted. So I would say in 2022 it's time to do something about that.
Well, I'm just going to bring that back around actually to the title, because as the episode podcast case you've forgotten, or it's first mentioned, it is progressive profiling, a real secret sauce. And I know we use that kind of facetiously, but we use that because people always are asking for what the secret sauce, and a lot of times say there is no secret sauce. It's a myth. It comes down to just doing things simply well, whatever it is. But the reason we use it today is because this is, like you say, relatively underutilized, right? Like not that many people are progressive profiling, and I guess therein lies an opportunity for people to make a difference, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the secret sauce is basically just that nobody does it. If you showed me 100 companies that all buy leads either externally or run their own lead gen, probably one or two do it. We're talking really small percentages. And not only that, it's once you've gathered that information, you really need to, have the sort of marketing props behind it to utilize that information properly as well. So there's no point in collecting it and just like, doing like half-assed, I don't know, emails on the back of it, or, still talking about your company and not focus on the pain that the user has. So it goes like hand in hand. You need good marketing and you need to ask the right questions.
It's interesting because as we're describing it, it does seem a little bit like a basic thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Understanding your customers, not grouping them together, is pretty much, marketing 101. And yet it's not done a lot. But I know this is because we do B2B a lot. Like you say, it's used more in that sense, and the segmentation, and I guess because it's smaller too, perhaps, like the amount of leads and stuff you've got. It's perhaps smaller, so you can get into it more. But I don't know. It seems like, why isn't it done in B2C as much? I guess.
I think I genuinely, and this is something, again, we talk about a lot. I talk about it like on posts on LinkedIn all the time. It's to do with the exercise of lead generation being incredibly sales centric and not marketing centric, or not consumer centric, more importantly. So I think if you can move away from this idea of like lead gen just purely being sales centric and every lead just gets hammered and then converts or doesn't, and that's the end of it, and move more into a relationship mentality with this person, using marketing and sales alongside each other, finding out ways that you can offer them value. It genuinely comes down to like the basic concept of what someone's data means and what it means to hold it, which is a lot more than just trying to get a sale from a single phone call that you do to them. And that, I think if that mentality shifts, that's when you probably start looking at progressive profiling.
Yeah. I think also I just want to clarify there. When I said we do B2B, I think I need to clarify that. I mean, we do B2B as in we sell to the businesses, but obviously it's B2C software. So, but the interesting thing about that, as we often say, is we get kind of a nice
we get like a unique insight.
and this is what I would say we are taking from the B2B side of it and maybe present it to the B2C and say, look, maybe we try this. It's pretty cool.
It's funny though, right? Because you see a lot of people in B2B saying we need to learn a lot from B2C, and you see
in the personalization, the human sense, but it just goes by.
Yeah, in some ways, and it's to do with like the volume thing. It genuinely is like a data thing, because data's been so cheap and easy to get, and it's just been like the plentiful fountain that just keeps giving. But if you imagine that that fountain's just been cut off at source, someone's blown it up, and now there is just the drip coming out of water that you actually need to extract properly. You ask him for the drip. You're going to take a lot more care and effort and things with it. So I think it's like a historic thing in B2C, definitely.
Also, one quick note I want to pull back to, not this way relevant to this, but you talked about the broadband thing, saying that's always the example. And it just reminded me of, I don't know where it is on the website somewhere. There's a podcast we did and there's a blog. And I don't know if someone's listened to this show who works for a broadband company who listened to the last one, because we came up with an advert and it was like 4 months ago, before.
I remember.
And we wrote an advert out for, I don't know what it was, like an internet company, and talked about like the Maslow's hierarchy and the pain points. And then literally about 4 months later, I got almost word for word, and you can find on the website the exact advert sent into my inbox. I'm like, for fuck's sake, someone's nicked this from us. So if we start getting progressively profiled by the same company, I'm not going to anything. I can say I'll do something. I'm not going to anything. I don't care. But I would be interested to see whether.
The thing is, right? I would love to get like progressive profile, because if the thing is, like, I get so much crap in my, like, if we're talking email, right? I think it should be done multiple channels, but let's just say it's email. I literally get so much shite in there, it's unbelievable. A lot of it's B2B, like I just can't even read like 99% of it, right? It's the same like thing that I get every single day, like 20 emails. If I showed you before we went on this podcast, right? In case anyone's viewing this or listening, I'm upstairs in the middle. We've got 3 floors to the Dateable offices. I'm upstairs on the middle office. Daniel's downstairs, and we have a quick chat, and then we'll switch offices. And the only reason why is because we actually have really good broadband in the office, so it makes sense to do it here. But I got progressive profiled from a guy doing B2B, purely because, number one, it was a lead, right? I filled a form in, I remember like 6 months ago or something, going to his site or seeing it. And so I was really intrigued by it and whatever else. And he sent me an email asking what sort of business we are. But it was done in I was already bought into the company, sold me the brand, all the stuff we talk about. And so the first thing I did, it wasn't even like I was thinking, oh, I'm being profiled here. I read it because I wanted to read it. I filled it in because I could see the value exchange, which is basically like a bunch of mini courses, right? There's a guy called Louis Grenier, who I think he's got a company called Everyone Hates Marketers or something. I check it out. But I don't want very much of it, but when it's done well, I will give that information across because he's giving me something in return. So when he asked me what type of business we are, he sends over the mini course like directly to that type of business. So I now know I'm going to get like 100% value from whatever he's just asked me. And that's like the mentality people need to take. It's not like, you're spamming people. These are the people who have already come in as leads. They're interested in switching broadband if we're focusing on that still. And for some reason, you haven't hit the pain point they're feeling that they want to move. But you will be able to. There is something, as long as they've not switched to someone else, or someone sold a lead multiple times, or some other mitigating factor, there is something that will help you build a relationship with that person. You've got to figure out what it is, and it takes great marketing. That's the point. And so again, if we were to look what companies could invest in like 2022, I would say lead nurturing and the great marketing behind it, invest heavily in it, because that's 85% of your prospects. And it's like an untapped resource that no one else is doing anything with. That's a massive segue that we've gone off talking about it. But also we've got another podcast coming up next week, which is talking about value exchange with a guest, which I think is sort of related to this. That'll be Like we
Yeah,
can
we don't
delve
have to
more
cover it
into
too
the
much.
we can delve more into the topic then.
Yeah, we'll put it up. Cool. That was episode 47, Progressive Profiling, a Real Secret Sauce. Thanks for listening to the B2C Lead Generation podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe to hear more from those at the very cutting edge of the lead gen world.